I think we need to do more because we have now declared that Israel has breached international law and continues to do so at an accelerated pace. And I know this week that sanctions were reimposed on Russia for their illegal actions, as the international community has declared, on annexing Crimea. And we now need to push for similar sanctions on Israel for their grave violations of international law, their continued policies of apartheid. And I think we now should be pushing for a downgrading of economic, cultural, military and diplomatic relations with a country that has and continues to breach international law. So, Minister, I need to hear you state that that is what we are pushing for when we say we are highlighting these issues. It's all well and good highlighting them, but the perceived impunity on which Israel thinks they can continue to operate with needs to be challenged, and it can only be done so by imposing similar sanctions as we have with other countries that have broken international law.
Minister?
Yeah, Deputy, I don't agree with you on this. The question of boycotts and sanctions has been discussed on many occasions in the Oireachtas. The government does not support boycotts on Israel. Such sanctions, in my view, would be ineffective and also, more importantly, counterproductive. Although we differ on issues to do with the occupation, we do not regard ourselves as hostile to Israel. And in my view, if we are to achieve what the government wants to continue to advocate and work towards, which is a peace settlement that results in two states living side by side with security issues addressed and with sovereignty issues addressed, well, then we need to maintain a relationship, particularly now that there is a new government in Israel. We need to work to build consensus within the EU and within the international community in terms of how the international community works with the new Israeli government, works with the Palestinian Authority, and there's work to do there as well, works to ensure that we isolate and reduce the influence of Hamas and other terrorist groups, so that we can actually ensure that good international politics and the right kind of interventions results in getting both sides, through their political leadership, legitimate political leadership on the Israeli and Palestinian side, with the support of the international community, can work towards a negotiated, peaceful solution. That, in my view, is the objective that we're after here. Isolating, boycotting, and targeting Israel at this stage, in my view, would be counterproductive towards achieving those aims and would potentially undermine Ireland's capacity to influence others to build the kind of consensus that I think is needed. That said, we will, of course, continue to raise these issues. Ireland is probably the most vocal country in the European Union on this issue. We have asked that the Commission produce a toolbox to ensure that we can use the leverage that we do have to the greatest extent possible to try to move the relationships in the right direction. But talk around boycotts and sanctions at this stage, in my view, isolates Ireland rather than puts us in the middle of an influential discussion to try to bring about change. We have an opportunity now with the new Israeli government
you have
to make progress, and we should focus on doing that.